Good evening, everyone. Good evening. How are you all doing? LSU Odyssey live in the house on. What day is it? Is it Monday? Is it Monday night? Crazy last 24 hours for some of us. Crazy last week for all of us, really. But thank you for any well wishes. It's been crazy. But we are here. We have heard the news. And Brian Kelly has finally confirmed it. We've had a sneaking suspicion. We've had a few sources about this. We've asked questions about this to a lot of different people. Got a lot of different range of answers, but those who actually watch our show consistently, or even just a little bit, if you watched, I think like last show we mentioned it, that he was clearly not 100%. We wrote it in our article after the Florida game. We talked about an abdominal injury multiple times. Many people have heard that, and we were hearing that before week one even began, that Garrett Nussmeier was suffering from some type of abdominal area injury. And now today, Brian Kelly confirms, and I don't know if it was, finally they're going to say something to kind of excuse some of the offensive lack of fireworks or downfield passing. We put out the passing chart. Nussmeier has thrown just 13 passes, just attempted 13 passes over 20 yards in the first 3 games, and has only connected on 4 of those passes. And so there's some troubling stuff where it's like, we're not even throwing it downfield at all. Like, we're trying not to, in a way. And we said at the last show we did that it seems like he's labored when he's throwing the football. Like when he took off for that 5-yard run, like he was bracing for impact. And it was as someone who's watched Nussmeier for so long, going back to his time in Marcus High, meeting him after the SEC championship game with his mom, his whole family, except for his father, Doug, but meeting the whole rest of his family, amazing people, meeting him in that moment, seeing him play live, seeing him play in as many different situations, practices, walkthroughs. We've seen it all with Nussmeier. We've gotten to kind of know how he ticks, when he's looking sharp, when he's looking, and you can see in that moment he's almost grimacing already because he's trying to run, and you can see he looks a little bit thick around that middle section. I would not be surprised if he's wearing some type of brace over it because, as Brian Kelly today called it, he called it a torso injury. A torso injury. We'll play that clip right now.
With a torso injury, and he's fighting through it, and he's getting better. And he's not going to be able to really shut it down until we get to the bye week. And I'm not saying that has had any of his troubles. I think he is a symptom of what I just answered from Wilson in that, we're not ripping it, on 4th down. We're taking some plays away from him as well. And he's done a really good job. I think he managed the run game as well as he has all year. We got to let him get the ball out to the playmakers. That would be more of what has to happen. And then we've got to keep him healthy. That's the most important thing.
And that's what they're doing this for. And this is what I felt this all along, was they are being outrageously, almost willingly conservative. And the reason you haven't seen Chris Hilton Jr. get really any targets, I think he's got 3 or 4 targets, and only like 2 come to mind. One that was in the red zone. A guy made a gregreat pass breakup against La Tech. and then the screen that he fumbled. Other than that, he hasn't been involved, and it's because they're not going downfield. I don't understand that, because I would still have your guy out there to take the defense downfield and at least kind of give your guys in short yardage some more space by maybe taking a safety away. Just that would kind of make sense to me to still have him in there for that. But whether you want to give him the ball or not, he attracts attention, and maybe that would, make sense. But we haven't really seen that. We've seen it very short yardage, which I think has actually increased the pressure on Nussmeier, increased, those defenders right down his throat. And, there's been some plays where Nussmeier was ripping passes, where to be able to rip some of these passes, he's got to have a really strong core to be able to whip the football in that way. So I don't think this is an injury that's like season threatening. I don't think this is an injury that's going to derail LSU's season, something like that. I don't see that. What I see it is something that LSU have been managing this from before the season, game to game to game, just maybe hoping it'll, he can heal as they go through this game, as they go through these few games, without having to push the football down the field. And, for someone like Brian Kelly, who knows this behind the scenes, he, of course, was overjoyed with the Florida win. Of course he's overjoyed with the Clemson. They got through this gauntlet with Nuss hurt in this first part of the year, already with a 3-0 record. And you've won with a hurt quarterback. That's fantastic. And guess what you get next? You get Southeastern, and then I believe isn't it a bye and then Ole Miss, right? So, there is opportunity here. But just like you had opportunity against Louisiana Tech, you didn't take it. Nussmeier was out there for all 4 quarters against Louisiana freaking Tech. And he was still throwing passes deep into the 4th quarter. So I just don't think we're helping him out here with this either way. I think with a defense like that, I understand why they're being so conservative play calling. I understand why they're trying to just manage these games and get through. And it all makes sense, right? But Kelly says something that is just patently untrue there. He says, I'm not saying that has anything to do with his troubles. Not saying that this injury, this torso injury, is not affecting him throwing the football down the field or the offense throwing the football down the field. Well, of course it is, Brian Kelly. Of course it is. What else would be affecting it? What else would be causing the play? I get you're trying to say that this is what we're doing. We're trying to be more conservative. We're doing whatever we can to win the game and keep it contained. But it's like you haven't controlled the football. You didn't dictate terms controlling the state of play outside of the second half against Clemson. And, of course, Louisiana Tech was comfortable. But against Florida, you were outpossessed by 15 minutes. So I have a little bit of an issue of hey, we're playing conservatively and it's working for us. It's not, because Nussmeier and this offense are unable to possess the football. We're unable to really. There's a few things that they do well, and that so far you cannot argue with a 3-0 record that they haven't done it when they have needed to. You can make that argument. You can also make the argument that this offense, this way, this shape or form, isn't going to get it done later on down the line. And that is why getting Nussmeier fully healthy is very key. Very key. And I remember when we put out that first report and we were saying, yes, there's the patellar tendon thing, but there's something else going on here. And we were roundly, you're overreacting. You think this is, and I'm like, no. There's something else going on here. It's quite obvious. He's hobbling, but then he's also looking like this, and they're also not doing this. And then little by little, especially the Louisiana Tech game, almost a fear of throwing the football over 10 yards. It freaked me out. And there's a play where Nuss got cracked in the chest, and he threw the football, but as he threw the football, made sure to turn just in the last second away from that hit, getting him right flush in the chest, caught him in the shoulder. You usually don't see quarterbacks willing to put their arms and shoulders at risk, but it was almost like a human reaction of my chest area is killing me. I have to protect it. And that's like a human reaction. Sometimes you can't even stop. And I just, I think this is incredible that we've been able to lean on a great defense, not even really run the football much with the numbers might say different. Durham had 93 yards this last game, 74 against Clemson. It hasn't been a sustained attack. It hasn't been a dictating running game that has controlled proceedings, except for that second half against Clemson. And even that, you can say, was there was some boneheaded penalties by Clemson that kind of helped us in that quest for consolidating power in that game. But really, it's been about this defense that has made this possible, that it has made it possible for Nussmeier and this offense, this very, very conservative, very, very vanilla, very like total handbrake on. And Kelly even called it that. He said, "There's a reason I'm putting the handbrake on. We're keeping plays from Nuss." He admitted to it being a deliberate mentality offensively. And before it was, well, we're doing that because we're doing it to win the game. Obviously, they knew from some of maybe the messages that we were putting out there, the report that we had put out there, that someone was getting close to breaking this news. And if it were, we were actually just being kind and not wanting to put our quarterback under a target by just keeping that within our subscribers, keeping that within the LSU community. Luckily, that did not spread outward. We could have done the whole breaking news, Nussmeier, but we didn't. And I think I understand that it's your job to give out the information. We understood that we give out this type of information to, on a grander scale where beyond our actual reach, people are retweeting it. It goes so viral. It's not just the LSU community. Then the enemy of LSU, they're going to be seeing this. We kept that to subscribers with our major injury update article where it had, the guys who had gotten hurt in the last game against Louisiana Tech. You had Braylon Moore, Tradez Green. And then at the very end of it, it had Nussmeier. And people flooded my direct messages with, "What the hell? Are you serious? Is Nussmeier seriously hurt? What's going on here?" And we were inundated with, questions. Abdominal injury, what does that mean? And we had some, requests of like, "Hey, make sure you definitely just keep that subscribers only. Don't put that out there." And we were like, we already know what's going on. We already know what we're doing. We're protecting our quarterback, but we're also telling our people the news, doing our job. And I think we were able to do that without putting Nuss in kind of a target zone. Now, Garrett Nussmeier moving ahead. Everyone knows now. Brian Kelly announced it, and now he's under a microscope where our offensive line have got to protect this dude. You cannot let these hits get... you're going to get hit in some of these passes where you have to hang in there and make the throw, step into it, and take the hit. That just comes with the territory. I understand, but just none of these unnecessary, stupid, blown assignment hits. None of these just completely avoidable hits. And Nussmeier's got to make sure that he doesn't take some of these hits too. Run forward for 1 or 2 yards and slide even. You don't have to go galloping for 15, even if you see the space. The space is going to close quickly because you're not Jaden Daniels. Take 5, go down. We'd love it. Crowd would go standing ovation. So we got to keep Nuss healthy. We got to get this Southeastern game done by halftime so that Nussmeier can get out of the game and get rested. Period. End of story. And you've got to make sure you get him fresh for the future going into this game. You cannot have him out there 4 quarters against Southeastern. You just can't. This offense must put up some points and must put it up early. Finish this game off. 27-0, 30-0. That will do. And then Nussmeier goes to the bench. You put in Colin Hurley, you put in Michael Van Buren, and they see the game out. That sounds like a worthy script to me. Does that sound good to you? Because the idea of Garrett Nussmeier going out there for 4 quarters against Southeastern and Louisiana Tech, dealing with the injury he has, it does not sit right with me. You are being given these moments that most teams don't have, where you have moments where you can actually rest these guys. And I understand these gimme games aren't quite gimme games anymore. NIL, revenue sharing, it's leveled the playing field. Guys are going everywhere now. Every school has got guys, right? This is Southeastern, a team that Louisiana Tech shut out, okay? They shut them out with an offense that only scored 17 points and then a defensive touchdown. So this is a team LSU should literally put up 80 on with a healthy Nussmeier. With an unhealthy Nussmeier and literally just hand the ball off. I don't want to see him even throw a pass in this game after knowing what we know. Honestly, I get why they've called it this way. I get why they've kept it close to the vest. I get why LSU has done everything that they've done offensively and PR-wise, from keeping that information private, protecting Nussmeier. It all makes sense to me. And, I'm always going to want to get to the truth of something. I understand why these coaches aren't going to tell you the truth, are going to obfuscate, are going to maybe even gaslight the media sometimes. It is their job that they're doing to protect their players. And so it doesn't bother me one bit. What bothers me is that we really have to keep Nussmeier healthy. I mean, this is someone dealing with 2 injuries right now, multiple injuries, and that's just not good. We've got to get him through Southeastern, get him healed up, but you've got just a brutal SEC gauntlet ahead, and your main guy is already beat up. It's incredible that LSU are 3-0, and I think it's going to really do some major damage, major favors for us down the road. However, you've got to really be careful with this guy. You cannot lose Garrett Nussmeier, or this season it might go into, even with the defense we have. You lose Garrett Nussmeier, the season may go into the abyss. That doesn't mean you have a losing season, but it means your goals maybe change a little. So Nussmeier injured. LSUODYSSEY.com. We're first on this story. Brian Kelly's calling it a torso injury. We had heard it was an abdominal injury. whatever it is, Nussmeier in the core, in the chest area, is injured. He's been dealing with it for multiple weeks now, likely since before the season began. And we are hoping quick first half versus Southeastern, 30-0, gets out of there. In other news, Brian Kelly, I mean, him going at Michael Cobble, I knew this thing was going to go viral, but I guess I just didn't know how much it was going. I guess I just took it for granted that how much certain people hate Brian Kelly and love to hate Brian Kelly. You had Stephen A. Smith talking about this. I mean, you had everyone. You had the Tulane coach, I think it was, making a joke about it. I mean, you had everything. Everyone talking about this Michael Cobble question to Brian Kelly, and Brian Kelly exploding. And it's the timing of the question. It's the timing of the question. And anyone, I think, who's like in the media, who's getting uptight about this, they've never been on a beat. They've never covered a team up close and gotten to know coaches, gotten to know the lay of the land, maybe not even gotten to know any players or their families. So very untrustworthy as a source when you're talking about how the media should be treated and how the coach should act to the media and all this stuff. It is the coach's job to protect his players, to defend his players, to literally lie to the media if he has to. Literally lie to our faces. Seriously. I would expect nothing less. And in fact, when I know a coach is lying to me, I know, okay, I'm on the case here. I'm close to something now. He just lied straight up because what he just said is completely not true. So I'm fine with it. That is what a head coach is supposed to do. And you've seen some people get a little precious in the media about this, and they just want to talk about Brian Kelly because they simply want to hate Brian Kelly. He does a lot. Like, here's the thing I know for a fact. His name in the search engine does a lot of numbers. I mean, when we put up something about Brian Kelly, we do something super interesting about Brian Kelly. I mean, like, whether they love him, whether they hate him, they love to read about him and kind of have a moment where they can crap on him and kind of, ha, Kelly. You know, there is a group out there that just hate this guy. And it really makes me want to see him win even more as a big, like, FU, because you know Kelly's going to get brash as hell when he wins that championship at LSU. When he delivers and wins at LSU, which I really think he will, you're going to see Kelly break out the sass and break out the swagger like you've never seen before because of the shit he's dealt with. Believe it. It's just very strange that became news again. And it seems like anytime Kelly has a vague outburst of any sort, it's everywhere, plastered everywhere. And you know what? I kind of like to see that emotion out of Brian Kelly. I like it. I love it. That he's defiant, that he's fiery, that he's bullish on his team. He knows he's got the most badass freaking defense in the country right now. So of course he's going to feel confident. Even if Nuss is hurt, the offense is off right now. Offense isn't showing maybe even a fifth of what they can do. Okay. He knows he has a defense that can win any game for him. Any game. And so this whole thing is a nothing burger to me. But I love that it's given Michael Cobble a bunch of screen time, a bunch of talking time. I love it. That's great. But this is This is the best defense in college football, LSU's defense. This is without a doubt the best defense in college football. I know, there's other picks, but there's no ferocious defense like this in college football. This is simply something else. This LSU defense has been special over 3 games. Only ranked 25th in the nation, which I think is kind of hilarious. But you look at all the teams ahead of LSU. There's only, let's see, all those teams: BYU, number 1 ranked defense; Minnesota, 2nd ranked defense; Iowa, and then you got Oklahoma, Mizzou, a few out of the SEC, Indiana, Louisville, Arizona at number 10, Houston and Penn State both at number 11. Utah at number 11 as well. So the 3-way tie. Ohio State would be in a very, very, very competitive, interesting matchup there. Probably very low scoring. A few kind of, it's only 3 games in. That's why you probably got Toledo, North Texas, whatever. This LSU defense, if they stay in this realm that they're going in, sky is the freaking limit, guys. This is the best defense in college football. Playing in the SEC, the athletes they have, the competition we've already played. You can say whatever you want about Clemson. They still have great players, especially on offense. I think it's on defense where a lot of people overrated the hell out of them, to be honest. And that's, spelling itself out quite clearly. But this is the best defense in college football. Bar none, no questions about it. And that's what we've been given so far. And now you know the reason why, that we've been given such a conservative version of this LSU team, that you expected an offensive juggernaut, 45 points, 50 points against Louisiana Tech, maybe 35 to 31 against Clemson, in the 30s against Florida. You can only go up from here as long as you get Nuss healed 100%. You get Nuss to 100%, I don't know how anyone can beat this team. You get Nuss to 100% with that defense. How can anyone beat us? How can anybody beat that team? Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. Had to do a show with what has happened, but I got to get back to monitoring my lady, making sure she's okay. Everybody, thank you so much. Have a good night.